hearing about the beavers, but we are not being educated. Though it's good, but we are not being educated how to use the BVR. But as for me personally, in that day, I will go out and vote who I think will be better for Nigeria.
So we don't know how to vote with that beaver, unless if they can't teach us.
For this reason, and in readiness for the nationwide deployment, the Commission is conducting a mock accreditation of voters, similar to what was done ahead of the Ekiti and Osun governorship elections.
It's 21 days to go for the 2023 elections, but some voters are yet to have a feel of the beavers machine that will be deployed during the exercise. Though INEC says, don't worry, there is a mock accreditation for you to have a romance with the beavers this Saturday, the 4th of February. While we anticipate the outcome of the mock accreditation this Saturday, training and retraining of INEC core staff and those on ad hoc basis is critical, and the man in charge training an estimated 1.4 million staff for the elections, an academic doctor and a seasoned administrator, is my guest today on Political Update. So sit back as I take you on a journey in the unpredictable world of politics. My name is Mie Ogidi. So joining me in the studio is the Director General, the Electoral Institute, the training arm of personnel at the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. He is Dr. Said Umar Idris. Welcome to Political Update.
Thank you, Mie.
From the chairman's speech there, training, though that clip is about a week ago, he promised that almost everything is set, and the training of personnel is also a critical component. So you are in charge of that arm of INEC. Can you briefly tell us what your institute is responsible to do in this electioneering period and the effort so far?
Well, first let me thank you very much, Mayor, for inviting me to this program. I really appreciate it. It's an honor and privilege to be here. Let me first say that the Electoral Institute is the training arm of INEC. Based on the implementation guidelines for the reform of the Electoral Institute, it has the responsibility of training, of course, the whole gamut of training, building capacity from within the commission staff, which is INEC staff, training of ad hoc staff, training of stakeholders, and of course, stakeholders involves training of security agencies, security of CSOs, training of CSOs, training of political party agents, political party officials as well, and indeed partly training of media in collaboration with our media team. So really this is a whole gamut of trainings that the Electoral Institute handles, some of them in collaboration with the relevant departments of the Commission. Of course, in preparation for that, we have been really working very hard. But I want to put the training in proper context. You need to understand that training is not a one-day activity. And you are all aware that elections, the end of one electoral cycle is the beginning of another.
Yes,
so at the end of 2019, the preparations for 2023 general elections virtually actually starts. So it's something that we have been doing all along for a very long time, building capacity within the Commission itself, building capacity in the states of different cadre of staff that we have, building basket of trainers all over the state and the local government offices. And indeed, then we come to the nitty-gritty, which is the main actual preparations for 2023. So there are a series of levels of training that has taken place before now. And even now, before we start the actual electoral training, which commences with the training of the supervising presiding officers on the 9th and 10th of this month, which is February, then that will be followed very closely by the training of the presiding officers and the assistant presiding officers, which is the POs and the APOs, which comes up on the 14th and 16th of this month. Then that is closely followed by the training of the collation officers, which comes up on the 20th to the 21st. But do we just wake up and start training all these people like that? No. We have what we call pre-training activities. We have trainings that we do before we come to this level of training all these levels of people that will officiate in the elections itself. Maybe let me give you a small digression. We started much earlier, but we just came down earlier in January. We had, beginning with, we started with a validation workshop. This validation workshop actually involves a review of a lot of training manuals, a lot of training handbooks, a lot of other materials, facilitators guide for our trainers, which they use in actual training. So they don't just jump into the class. We have training guides, which we call facilitators guide, which they use in knowing exactly the agenda, what they are supposed to teach, the time it will take them to teach all these things. And of course, all this is guided by a well thought out process, so that the training itself is systematic.
Okay, you don't know, the essence of all this is to have a smooth exercise, especially on the day of election.
Absolutely.
But the fear of many Nigerians, and probably that is what INEC is trying to avoid with this mock accreditation. Beavers, those in charge of beavers, I don't know whether they're also parts of your training, because from the literature I discovered that 1.4 million pest staff, adult core staff will be expected in this. Are you the one training? Is your institute in charge of all the 1.4? And if so, beavers, those handling beavers, also under your class?
Okay, let me also explain that beavers is actually handled by the ICT department, including the training of beavers, the technical training of beavers. Of course, if you remember very well, much earlier last year, the ICT, in collaboration, of course, we collaborated with the ICT, has organized the training of master trainers on the use of the beavers. That is a special training on technologies on the beavers. This is coordinated by the ICT department. We collaborated with them. We were there. We were part of them. Remember, the major TOT for the master trainers took place in Abuja, in Abuja Greenwich Hotel. Thereafter, we actually devolved to the geopolitical zones. I personally was in Kano to monitor the different levels of the geopolitical zone training. We broke down for the Northwest. We broke down the trainings into two levels. Some groups were trained, followed by the other groups. The first group consists of states from Kano and Katsina. Of course, all other northwestern states were covered as well, Sokoto, Jigawa, and the rest. So because of the standard practice of class size, we broke them into groups so that you now don't put everybody in one place. So training delivery itself has its own guidelines. You have to put people in comfortable classes, well managed for the facilitator to actually deliver well, to make contact very well, to deliver, to be able to also allow for interaction so that the class itself is actually interactive. You are not just sitting down and teaching people and them listening to you and recording everything. No, we do actually make our classes interactive so that they now take all these things in their stride, ask questions, interrogate sometimes the trainers. As a matter of fact, we have a special day dedicated to the practical simulation. That is where we now bring our ICT team, who now comes and take all those trainees through how to use the beavers. Practically, they will touch it and use it and feel it, ask questions about it. If they have misgivings about it, they ask questions, and our ICT team are always there to provide support.
You are the DG of the institute, and you know the success or otherwise of those that you have trained squarely lie on you. So can you give some level of assurance to Nigerians on your observation? You were in Kano to at least personally monitor the situation, and probably you must have gotten feedback from other states and zones. So are you telling Nigerian electorate and the country generally that the staff are good to go, that on that day of the election they won't look for help elsewhere?
Okay, let me also remind you that training itself is systematic. It's a process, and you take people through. After the process itself, we have what we call evaluation. We do an assessment, and the assessment are actually categorized into 3. First, before we even start training them, we will do an assessment and analyze and review and evaluate the level of understanding of what we are going to teach, the subject matter itself. Some people come to the class without any knowledge. Some people come with a fair knowledge and understanding of the subject matter you are going to teach. Some people have a very, very good understanding, depending on the level. It's just like you have a class. In the class, you have the level of thinking. People's IQ are different. People understand things differently. They perceive things differently. So, when we do that at the beginning, we call it pre-training evaluation. We now also allow them to start the training. When they start, we now do a midway into the training, we also do another evaluation. In that way, what we do is we discover people who are not really picking up very well, people who are slow in learning. So the trainer, or our core or master trainers, as we call them, will pay special attention to those categories of people who really, by and large, do not understand very well or are very slow in learning. So they give them some special training. In fact, we don't mind. Sometimes we can put an extra trainee in the class to attend to those kind of people. When we finish that, at the end of the training itself, we also do a post-training evaluation. That also categorizes those people based on their understanding. We now, through the evaluation, try to understand by asking them certain questions. We share some questionnaires which they feel they don't have to look at anything. They won't have to look at the training manual.
It's quite a lecture here also.
Yes.
That shows that you are really taking care of those your staff.
Yes.
But there is this school of thought that you are spending so much in time, apart from the financial cost, energy, and every other. You put in so much to groom them from the scratch, as it were. And this is what you do almost every 4 years. And sometimes corpus constitute the bulk of your ad hoc staff. And you have the data bank of those that probably partook in the 2019 election. Can't you recall some of those who are willing to come and still take part in probably subsequent elections, since they have the institutional knowledge after being part of the previous election?
Let me tell you, that is exactly what the commission does every time. Remember that the recruitment of the ad hoc staff is a process. There is an online platform that was open. 14th of September, an online platform, recruitment online platform was open for various categories of ad hoc staff that were actually invited to apply. Every Nigerian really who makes the criteria is free to apply, including those people who we trained in 2015, 2019, in fact way back, and those people who are actually new, who really have never participated. Once you apply online, which you remember the portal actually closed on the 14th of December, you apply, we now subject you to some criteria. There is an evaluation, and we harvest those lists. So those people who were trained before actually had the same opportunity of actually applying online. Most of them do. So you find them easier to train really than somebody who has not. So perhaps maybe during the recruitment exercise itself, you have the opportunity to really sieve out based on the information they provided, those who have actually had a good knowledge of the electoral process, which means by and large they have participated in some of our elections. So we find them easy to train. But I'm assuring you that the training is so rigorous that it doesn't start just now. Let me remind you, a very critical component of the training for election is the road training. Road training has taken place in all the 36 states and FCT at different times. Right now, as I'm talking to you, the last batch of the road training is actually...
Can you explain who are they?
Okay. The road training is the training of corpus at the camp level.
Okay.
When they go to the orientation camp, we go and follow them there. So you can see how diligent INEC is.
Yes, it is. But what I'm not too comfortable with, you are training media, party agents, and you also CSOs. Yes, understandable. But what I'm not too comfortable, that needs some explanation. You also train security agencies.
Yes, we do.
and it's an democratic institute, not
okay.
military. So can you please?
Let me remind you that the security agencies are part of ICSES, which is the Interconsultative Committee on Election Security. They are fully responsible for maintaining violence-free, peaceful atmosphere for election to take place. So we have to train them. Why do we train them? We train them for them to understand better their roles and responsibilities of election duty. That is why we sit down with them ab initio to develop the manuals for security training, develop the handbooks that we use for training them, and develop facilitators guide. In fact, we sat down with them and developed what we call based handbook, which is the basic security and election duty. Those are the things. If you remember, we went to Nasarawa State much earlier in last year to actually discuss, sit down and review with them. We also went to Kano in August last year, review those. Then we sat down earlier in January. We actually validated those things, because you can go and teach people with documents that they don't know anything about. We worked together with them, developed the documents with them, brought it back to them for them to validate and accept that what we have done before was exactly what we are bringing to the field to train them. Now we are training them so that they understand their role and responsibility. What are their role and responsibility on election day? First and foremost, and most importantly, protecting the voting population.
It's very important.
Very critical
safety
and
of
important.
The staff and the
safety of the staff.
But DG, let's round off this topic discussion within the next 1 minute. The world is tech-based. INEC is going digital as well.
Yeah.
So what aspect are you putting in your efforts on the online aspects?
Okay, let me remind you that the Commission has been very passionate about technology in elections. Part of the things the Commission did with the kind approval of the Honorable Chairman of the Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, is to actually bring in training into this technological revolution. The Commission kindly and graciously approved for us to partner with IFES, International Federation for Electoral System, to develop a learning management system. So basically for 2023 trainings, we are going to have partly the normal face-to-face training that we used to do, which is the technical, the traditional method of training. And we are going to have now trainees that will interact with the manual for election officers and other resources online. In fact, they will ask questions and they will be answered online as well. So another aspect is this: we developed training videos, we developed PDFs that really you and your Android phone can actually teach yourself some of the things we do. So we are on the online trend, and the Commission really must be praised for giving us this good opportunity to jump on the online
thank
trend.
You very much. You are an academic doctor, so and you are training media as well. So I'm in the class, and time is no longer a friend. And I think that is the much we can take on today's edition on Political Update Friday. Tomorrow is mock accreditation. Make sure you go and see what the beavers can do. And also don't forget the deadline for collection of PVC is around the corner. And also go for your cash, because the old ones will soon give way finally to the new one. DG, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. Mayor, I really appreciate it. It's my honor and privilege to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Have a fabulous Friday.
Thank you.